This is Libertarian State Representative Max Abramson. A vote for Max is for less taxes. I'm also a Libertarian candidate for president. I just wanted to, since yesterday's video that I posted online got more views than any other video that I put up on the quote-unquote apparent suicide of Jeffrey Epstein, something that apparently nobody believes. In fact, there was an online poll yesterday showing that only 7% of respondents thought that Epstein had offed himself. Obviously, somebody had him killed. They took him off a suicide watch. And oops, the camera malfunctioned right before somebody went into his cell, and then all of a sudden he's found dead in his cell. That's obviously ridiculous. There are all sorts of conspiracy theories about maybe Trump did it because Trump used to be friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and Trump no longer allows Epstein to go to Mar-a-Lago, and he's banned from all these different places because of his nefarious activities. And then Bill Clinton, of course, visited Epstein's pedophile island 26 times according to the flight logs, and all sorts of people have had accidents, suicides, plane crashes, and so forth surrounding the Clintons. Somebody took the old Clinton body count hashtag and they changed it to the Trump body count, but then the people who knew about the Clinton body count changed that to the Clintons body count. So they just changed one letter, and now you have access to the whatever 117 some odd people who died surrounding the Clintons when they cabinet members and staffers and Secret Service and bodyguards and Marines who became aware of some of the nefarious activities that were going on. But what I've noticed is not just what I wanted to talk about was the lack of news media coverage of the fact that absolutely no one believes this. Not only does no one believe the official story that NBC and ABC and the mainstream media are putting out, but they don't even report on that. And they know it's online. No one believes the official story. And the global elites, the politicians, and all the politically connected people who own the media and own Wall Street and control everything, own and control everything, they don't care that the American people don't believe them. And they just go right on reporting the official story. And the major networks hardly even talk about the fact that absolutely no one online believes them because they don't care. They don't care because they know that everything's pretty much locked up between the two-party system. You've got 20 states that always go Republican every year. You've got 14 states that always go Democrat. And we saw with Ron Paul being forced out of the Republican primary, even though he was consistently polling first, second, and third in all the straw polls and primaries everywhere across the country. The news media would always ignore him. And we saw with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton that the Democrat Party runs a rigged primary process too, so they control the White House, and a handful of billionaires and political insiders control the rest of the process. Everything's top down. Everything's very much controlled. And the only political party of any size that's able to pull larger numbers of votes and large amounts of interest from both conservatives and liberals is the Libertarian Party, which is a party that I've been a member of for over 20 years now. But in a greater sense, I think that we've got to pull together as a country and kind of wake up to what's going on. And the reason I've been talking about tactical voting with libertarians and libertarian groups is we really actually have a shot. We have a chance to really upset things, change the status quo, to get ordinary people to run as libertarians, run for Congress, run for House of Representatives, run for state legislature, run for county council, run for local office. I've done that myself. I ran for budget committee and got reelected to budget committee. I ran for planning board and just got reelected to planning board. I've run for state representative and I've gotten reelected to state representative. I learned the process. I've gotten elected to other offices. There's a process involved to get in there, not only to get elected, but to introduce bills and openly challenge things and challenge lobbyists, which I do every single day when we're on committee. I ask them the questions that they don't want to answer. Now, it doesn't matter if it's corporate lobbyists, trial lawyers, union officials, bureaucrats, all the political insiders. It doesn't matter one way or the other. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I've gotten better and better at kind of catching the same lies. They use the same scare tactics every time to argue for the cronyism and corruption. And whether you're a Republican or Democrat, you've got to understand by now that it's the corruption's in both parties. It's the Democrats and rhinos, as I like to say. It's the Rockefeller Republicans and the Rockefeller Democrats, and it doesn't matter which one you put in. the end result is the same. You still get these job-killing managed trade deals. You still get $114 billion a year in corporate welfare. You still get Democrats and Republicans voting for corporate bailouts and handouts, and $400 billion a year in special tax breaks, and $300 billion in tax exemptions. And you've got a super wealthy class of people in charge of our government who own the media, who are playing all these games, and they're ignoring every single law, every single tax, and they're using our government to enrich themselves and screw us over. Both parties continue to push the tax burden down onto the middle class. Both parties continue to engage in all these wars that started under Bush Sr. and expanded under Clinton, and were expanded again under Bush Jr. and Obama, and now Trump is expanding the wars in the Middle East. And it doesn't seem to matter if you elect Republicans or Democrats. It's all part of one big club. And the rest of us keep getting screwed. The rest of us keep watching the cost of prescription drugs and pharmaceuticals and insulin go through the roof. Same bottle of prescription drugs that costs, $5 in New Zealand or Singapore costs $8 in India. In Canada, it's $80 because of protectionism. But if you think that's crazy, for prescription drugs, the same bottle costs $800 in America, and the costs just keep going up and up and up and up like this. Insulin's become unaffordable, and to the point where you literally have people dying because they can't get their insulin, because insulin's so expensive. And it's big pharma is using the FDA's approval process. They're using government licensing. They're using patent abuse to block competition in the marketplace, even from alternative medicines. And they put people in prison when they come up with alternative medicines and alternative treatments to cancer that work. There's at least half a dozen treatments to cancer that work for different types of cancer that cost almost nothing, where you can just go down to the grocery store and pick up products or obtain things locally that are already available in the marketplace. And Big Pharma has been blocking that. So there's one big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. They continue to do this. They continue to play these games. And anytime anyone has any evidence or eyewitness testimony about the pedophile rings, child molestation rings, human trafficking, weapons trafficking, drug trafficking, HSBC or Bank of America got caught laundering so many hundreds of billions of dollars in drug trafficking money, where they knew it was illegal drug money, and they got off scot-free. The people who owned it paid a fine, the stockholders paid a fine, and the people who were involved in it got off completely scot-free. Tyson Foods was caught in the 1990s replacing 80% of their workers at 5 different meatpacking facilities with illegal immigrants, and they got away with it. And whatever you think of immigration policy, it's the fact that they were politically well connected, and they were bankrolling the Clinton-Gore campaign, and then the Gore campaign in 2000 that allowed them to get away with it, and they escaped accountability until the early 2000s, when the Clintons were finally out of office and no longer there to protect them. And then they were indicted, they were prosecuted, and the owners were sent to jail. But you still had thousands and thousands of American workers put out of work. Now I talked to some of the guys at the union hall, and even at some of the union halls, even in the trade unions, the workers are being replaced not just with immigrants, but illegal immigrants. People who are here illegally, and the union officials are using their connections and their payoffs and whatnot to replace American workers. So it's totally unethical, it's totally illegal, but they're the political class, and they run a rigged process top to bottom. The U.S. Senate, the House of Representatives, all the committee chairs who have to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for the party to get to hold on to their committee chairmanship, presidents, Republicans and Democrats, everything top to bottom. The whole system's completely corrupt. The political insiders know it. The media knows it. The globalists know it. Criminal cartel on Wall Street knows it. And worst of all, they now know that we know it. They know that we know it. And their attitude is they don't care. They know that we figured it out. They know that we figured out how the system is, and they don't care. And they're still disregarding everything that people are saying online, even though millions and millions of people have now woken up. It's just an absolute farce. The whole system is one farce. And when you get inside, and you get inside the legislative process, you get elected to local office, you see all the corrupt political insiders, Republicans and Democrats, and how they stab people in the back, and all the games that they play, and everything that they come up with to distract people away from the corruption and the shenanigans and everything else that they've been doing, everything else that's been going on. and they focus on people's emotions, and they find ways to divide people against each other. So my name is Max Abramson. My website is just maxabramson.org. Please join the Libertarian Party. Please get actively involved in the process. Please pay attention. Don't just drop out like half the voters and stay home every single year, because the only way that we're going to change things is if we, the people, get involved, learn tactical voting, or if you want, it's called Strategic Voting in Canada. www.strategicvoting.ca is another website. Or just go onto YouTube and look at any of the videos on tactical voting and strategic voting, and you'll see how the process works. But we have to organize now. We have to get involved now. If we want to clean up the system, if we want to clean up the process, we've got to get organized right now and be ready for next year's challenging election.